guys, so in this video I'm going to show you how to use a clipping mask. Really basically a clipping mask is when you want to take one layer on Photoshop and put it inside of another layer on Photoshop. So to give you an example, what you can see on the screen here is you've got a W and you've got this pan here. So what I'm going to do to show you how to use a clipping mask, I'll show you what it does, is I'm going to put this paisley textured pan here inside this W here. So it's a nice little way to make some of your layers look a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more exciting, a little bit more, interesting, rather than just having something simple like a block color or a gradient or something like that. So I've got my two layers here. I've got my W, which you can see here I've named layer W, obviously, and I've got my paisley pattern here, which is layer 1. So to make a clipping mask work, what you want to do is, first thing you need to do is to make sure that we're going to put the object that we want to go inside of the other object on top. So this is really hard to explain, so I'm going to put the paisley textured pattern over the top of the W, so the W is hidden. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to resize my object so that the pattern completely covers the object itself. So now this paisley pattern is completely covering the W, so you shouldn't be able to see that at all. So all I'm going to do after that, I'm going to go to layer 1, alright, and just in case you need to readjust your layers, don't forget, if you want to readjust your layers, you can just drag them up and down like that, or alternatively, for a keyboard shortcut, you can use Control and square brackets left and right to move things up and down. Okay, anyway, back to the clipping mask. So I've got my paisley pattern over the top of my W. All I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on layer 1 and I'm going to go to create clipping mask there. There you go. So you can see now this little arrow here is indicating that this layer here is inside whatever layer is directly underneath. That's one thing you really got to make sure that you do if you're using a clipping mask, is it only does it to whatever layer is underneath. So you have to make sure you've got your layers organized for this to work. So I'll show you again. Got my two layers here, my W paisley pattern. I'm going to bring my pattern over my W. I'm going to right click and go to create clipping mask like that. Alternatively, what you can do if you want to use a shortcut is if you hold Alt on your keyboard, which is the one next to the space bar, and then bring your your cursor to the bottom of the little square part of your layer here, you get a little arrow and a square. You click that, does the same thing for you. Alright, now with my clipping mask selected, I can still move around the individual layers like that. So if I want to move them around, I can do, but obviously just bear in mind these are still technically individual layers. So if you want to merge them, you can do. If you want to hold all layers and move them around once, you can do. That's up to you. But that's basically how you do a clipping mask. It's not something that the example will probably specifically ask you to use, but it's something that is quite good if you want to do something that has a little bit more creativity to it, or something that looks a little bit more interesting than just like a solid block color, or something like a gradient, something like that. It can make things look a little bit more interesting, especially if you've got to do things like vector graphics or anything like that. Maybe there's something to think about anyway. But yeah, that's basically it for how to do a clipping mask. I'll catch you next time. TRC